Hello and welcome back to the channel. The manhwa we are going to recap today is about a girl who regressed back in time to avoid getting killed by the mad hero. So let's begin with our recap. She is sitting in her room, which is illuminated by the night light passing through the windows, scared and frightened to death as the screams of people getting killed in the mansion are getting closer to her with every moment. She believes that the next scream will be coming from her throat as she concludes that the killer is in the next room. She assures herself that she would be all right and opens the drawer to look for something. It is a shiny blue tablet which she takes out quickly as she thinks that this tablet would somehow save her from this situation. The killer enters his room with blood all over his face and clothes and asks the girl if she goes by the name Layla Hildegard. She gets shocked as she hears his voice, but she still turns towards him and denies her being Layla Hildegard, telling him that he might have mistaken her for someone else. The killer tells her that he is right about her being Layla Hildegard, which irritates her because she thinks that he actually plans to mock her until the end. As the killer walks towards her, she stops him because she has something to say to him. The killer asks her if she is going to say her last words, to which she replies that they might not exactly be my last words, but they are something quite similar. So the killer allows her to finish what she was going to say. She requests him to spare her life only to get an abrupt rejection from the killer. As the killer begins to take out his sword to kill her, she begs him to stop and tells her that he should let her go because she is the enemy of his enemy, which means that she is his friend, as she also hated the people of her household very much, and she promises that if he spares her, then there would not be any consequences for him at all. The killer ponders for a moment and then asks Layla if she really wants to live, to which she replies that she absolutely wants to live, so he orders her to drain all the Hildegard blood from her body because that is the only way he can spare her life. Layla wonders if he is trying to fool her because draining herself of the Hildegard blood is akin to losing her life, which makes her realize that her killer has a very wicked and twisted personality. With there being zero hope of getting spared, Layla proceeds to ask him one last question. She asks him whether he would have spared her life if she had tried to prevent that incident and his death 10 years ago. The killer answers her that mere trying would not make him spare her life, as she would have to succeed in stopping those incidents from happening altogether. She is frustrated because of his wretched personality and weird demands, as trying is meaningless in front of him, and he even wants her to drain all of her blood, which makes her realize that he truly has no intention of letting her live. Layla, trying desperately to buy some time, proceeds to say one last thing, while the killer is annoyed that she talks a lot. Layla tells him that he has a bad personality, as meeting him made her feel very awful, and she decides that they should never meet again, as he is a wretched freak who has a personality disorder. After she finishes what she wants to say, she quickly gulps the shiny blue tablet she had previously grabbed from her drawer as the killer watches her. A sheer pain runs through her body which hurts her badly, and she falls down the floor. She had no idea that it would hurt this much, as there was no mention of pain. But she is willing to endure all of this pain if it means that she can survive her fate, because her only wish now is to escape from her killer. She had always wished for death in a warm, spacious room listening to a piece of music she particularly liked while being surrounded by her beloved family, as she met her end. But it was obvious that her dream could never come true because she was the daughter of a very ruthless, bloodless, and heartless villain whose household was the source of all the misfortune she had to face. On a certain day when she was only 10 years old, she saw her father entering the castle with a blonde-haired boy whose hands were cuffed. She asked her father about the boy, to which he pushed the boy with a slap and told her that he was not someone she should concern herself with. But she thought that the boy was even prettier than a doll, and she was interested in his doll-like beauty. The boy, however, was immediately imprisoned in the underground dungeon, but despite that, she went down the cell to see him out of sheer curiosity. However, she was so scared by piercing screams and overwhelming smell of the blood that she ran away. She was left stunned to find out that the boy died shortly after, which haunted her pure childish heart a nightmare for years. Then, after 8 years, news spread that a hero who would seal away the evil god was eventually born, which trembled the world. After seeing the hero's face in the newspaper, Layla was sure that the hero was the boy who had come to the Marquisate because of the striking similarity between their faces, but no one in the Marquis family believed her because they did not even remember that such a boy even existed. They made fun of her story and laughed at her for thinking that the dead could return. But after sealing the evil god and saving the world, the hero came to the Hildegard Marquisate exactly after 2 years to kill everyone in the Marquisate family and fulfill his revenge. While she was thinking about all those events that happened in the Marquisate family after the death of the boy, She gasped and opened her eyes as she found herself in her room. She grabbed the mirror to look at her face, making sure if the stone of return really worked. She was relieved to find her 10-year-old appearance in the mirror after the huge risk she took to retrieve the stone of return before dying. It was one of the items that her father had plundered, and it was a mysterious stone that sends the person who swallows it back to the past. Hence, it was named the Stone of Return. She had originally planned to survive without using the stone and decided to sell it later so that she can make some money, but there is nothing she can do about it now as life is the most precious thing one has. She had no need for money as there was already plenty of valuable stuff in her room which she can use to get out of this garbage dump that treats her like trash anytime, because staying in this villainous family is pointless as that guy will come to kill her without any doubt. So, she packs everything she needs and decides to leave the damned villainous family. But she is shocked to see that she cannot escape as she regresses again and finds herself on her bed. After her escape failed because she got killed by a coachman who wanted to steal the jewels she had, she realized that escaping as a child was too dangerous, so in her second turn, she decided to run away when she was 16 years old. But it was also useless because her killer still found her and completed her revenge on the Hildegard Marquisate family, even though she fled to a distant kingdom across the sea which she had never heard of before. On her third try, she decided to get married as it was the only way to abandon the Hildegard name she was born with, but that was also in vain, and she realized that no matter how she struggled, the only way for her to save her life was to get rid of the Hildegard blood. As she wakes up in her fourth try, she wonders if her killer feels good to hunt her down and kill her every time because no matter what, she always dies in vain. As she continues to wonder what her killer wants from her, her maid, after serving her breakfast, tells her that her father has summoned her to his office and she should go there immediately. As she stands in front of her father like a zombie, he asks her the reason she is reacting irrationally these days. He warns her that if she does not want to be kicked out of this mansion, she should explain herself or make an excuse. She wonders what kind of person her father is because he massacres innocent people, treats others like objects, dragging them in and immediately killing them. She asks him the reason for his wretched and foul actions. She is furious because she was born in the damned Hildegard family, cursing her very fate because she cannot change the fact that she is a Hildegard even after leaving home or getting married. She asks her father if he knows how to drain one's blood, because her killer said that he will spare her if she manages to drain all of her Hildegard blood. She begs her father to tell her the way to do this, so that she can live, because she is very tired of dying again and again. Her father acknowledges that she is in a lot of pain, so he orders her to be sent to the southern villa for recuperation, but 10 years later, her killer finds her again and kills her. As she returns for the fifth time, she chooses to not see his face again in this regression. But she realizes very well that it is not possible for her to do that, and she cannot escape it by just avoiding it. She concludes to meet her a bit earlier so that she can save her life. She realizes that she should not waste any time and gather her thoughts before she meets that psychopath. She had a lot of time to think because she was practically imprisoned in the villa before this return. If she reflects on her current situation and what she knows, the first thing she can conclude is that she can return multiple times, but she does not know the conditions for her return. She also does not know the number of times she can return and whether she will return to the past if she dies of old age. She decides to avoid dying a pointless death as she does not know the details, and it is possible that this regression is her last one. The next thing she concludes is that the point in time she regresses to is fixed, which is the kingdom year 332. May 11th precisely at 6 p.m., and the location she regresses to is on her bed. She believes that this condition will likely never change in the future. The third thing she concludes is that it is absolutely impossible to prevent that certain incident when her father burned down the orphanage where her killer lived and he brought her killer, who was the survivor, to his house. The reason she cannot prevent that incident is because the orphanage does not exist after she opens her eyes. So even if she dies 100 times, she cannot stop it, so decides to set that aside for now. The fourth thing she concludes is that she cannot remember the exact moment before she dies or the moment of her death. She is relieved that it is like that because she would have gone mad ages ago if it was not the case. She wonders if there is anyone in the world who can remember the pain and memories after experiencing multiple deaths without losing their mind. She thinks that there is probably no one else in the world who can die multiple times. However, if there is someone like that, she decides to treat him like her older brother and take care of him. The most important thing, despite all her conclusions, is how she can avoid dying in 10 years. The only option left for her is to meet her killer as early as she can. The scene then shifts to the courtyard where Layla's father has just arrived from a long journey with a boy whose hands are cuffed. He is welcomed by her children as he enters the mansion. His children ask him if they should have a maid prepare a bath for him or if he wants to drink warm tea before that. Layla, who is seeing all of this, is curious about how many half-siblings live in this castle. She never saw them as siblings, but rather little villains who would one day take their father's place. The siblings are surprised to see that their father has brought them something, but Layla recognizes her killer right away. Some of them wonder if that thing is something one can even call human because it is very different from them, while others think that it looks like that just because it is a little dirty. As they are curious, their father wonders if they are talking about this rat he brought from the orphanage. Layla, on the other hand, is scared to see him, and her heart starts pounding just as it did when she first saw that psychopath, to the point that she is trembling. Back then, she was stunned by his beauty, but now as he stands in front of her, her heart races for a different reason. Her father, on the other hand, tells his children that he is not someone they should be worrying about and kicks the boy on the back as he orders his servants to lock him up in the dungeon. Layla is shocked to see her father's behavior with the poor child and thinks that he is a madman because he should be treating the child with care instead of kicking him. Seeing the sorry state of the boy, Layla thinks that this might be a good chance to get on the good side of the boy. She approaches the boy to help him, but is welcomed by her furious gaze, which she remembers very well as these are the same eyes that have always sought to kill her. However, Layla realizes that right now he is just a child who has been dragged to the castle and not her killer. However, she perfectly realizes that if she does not do something to get on his good side, she will again have to face the terrifying psychopath who always tries to kill her. She wears a flowery smile and asks the boy if he is all right. Her behavior surprises the boy a little, but he smacks her hand away hard to the point that it reddens her pale skin. Layla is surprised and scared to see his hostile reaction. Her father, upon seeing the boy causing a ruckus, orders his servants to beat him until he admits to the crimes he committed. Layla does not like this and wants to tell her father that it does not hurt and that they should not punish him, but she feels like something is blocking her throat. Her father, on the other hand, wonders why her daughter is acting like that. Layla then remembers that in her fourth turn, she did not care if she lived or died. But the thought of her father killing her never occurred in her naive mind. A different kind of fear engulfed her when she learned that her father had told the servants in the southern villa to kill her if she showed no sign of remorse. The fear she experienced this time was different from the fear she experienced when she faced that lunatic. It was the vague fear that she could die at any moment by a single word from her father. It was the dread of the heartless madman who is merciless even to his own blood and does not care about that at all. All of this made it very difficult to perform the simple act of asking for mercy for that boy because it did not hurt. As she is getting scared of what will happen to her, she is surprised to hear the kind voice of her father, who is asking if she dislikes the idea of punishing him and if she wants her father to not do it. She tells her father that he should not punish him as she feels sorry for him. Her father understands how his daughter feels because even though he thinks that compassion is a useless emotion, he cannot ignore it as everyone has it. Her father tells her that he cannot leave him without punishment because he attacked her daughter, which is akin to challenging her and Hildegard. Layla thinks that his father is a lunatic to consider a small slap on the wrist as an attack on the Hildegard family. She realizes that her father does not want to allow anyone to insult him and his family's honor. As her father's grip on her head tightens, she realizes that she quickly needs to say something or else something bad will happen. In the end, she says what her father wants to say, that he should punish the boy severely and not stop until he realizes the severity of the crime he has committed, as that is the Hildegard way. The boy looked at her with eyes full of anger as she said that, but Layla, on the other hand, considers his father's way of doing things to be rotten, wretched, and despicable. Her father is pleased to hear her answer and orders her to always remember this, as he does not want to be a cruel father. As she trembles under her father's hands, he orders the boy to be taken away, which makes her feel various disgusting feelings. The scene then shifts to Layla's room, where she is finding something in her drawer for the boy. She is angry over what happened in the daytime because she was originally trying to get on the good side of the psychopath boy, so that even when he comes to this mansion in the future, he spares her life, but it did not go according to her original plan. She had thought that it would be easy to sway the heart of a child, but she was completely wrong. She even thought of dying and starting all over again for a moment, but there is no guarantee that she would come back again. She sneaks out of her room to go to the dungeon, while making sure that she does not get noticed by others, as she decides to do everything she can to clean up this mess in this life. She did not want to come back to this dungeon ever again, because if she got caught, it would be over for her. She is relieved to see the guard named Hans standing in front of the cell at this time of the night. She greets Hans, who is surprised to see her in the dungeon at this hour. She tells him that she is here because she wanted to apply some medicine on the boy who is inside the cell, and she obviously did not get the permission of her father for this, but she is doing all this because she does not want her beloved guard, Hans, to become a murderer. Hans, on the other hand, cannot seem to understand what Layla is trying to say. She tells him that she knows Hans beat the boy because of her father's orders and that it would not be right for him to let an innocent child die after beating him harshly because he is a good person. She assures him that the medicine is clear, so it would not be visible to anyone, and she will apply it very quickly. She makes the shiny puppy eye face and begs Hans to let her apply the medicine. Hans is unable to stand in front of her cuteness, so he gives her the key and informs her that the next guard will take over in 2 hours, so she must make sure to leave before then. Layla gets embarrassed by her act and assures Hans to not worry. She asks Hans if she is allowed to take a lamp with her, as she opens the cell, to which he replies that she can take it. She is frustrated to see the horrible state of the boy, and she pities over both the man who did this to a child and the child who, despite being in this sorry state, refused to admit to any of his actions. She acknowledges the toughness and perseverance of the boy who has endured such beating and probably thinks that it was because of his toughness that boy became a hero later in his life. As she continues to apply ointment on the unconscious boy, she tells him that she would have been one of her admirers had he only decided to not kill her, but considers it to be a completely useless thought. She wonders how she should give the herb she brought to the boy because he would not be able to swallow it as he is unconscious, and her soft and lovely hands would not be able to rub it in. So in the end, she decides to chew the herb herself and then give it to the unconscious boy. She advises the unconscious boy to ingest the herb, even though it tastes gross, because getting better is more important at the moment. She thinks that no one would believe her if she told them that this small and weak boy would grow so big in just 10 years. She is saddened by his sorry state, but decides to walk out of the cell as she has already done what she came here to do, so she decides to go back to her room and get some rest, as she is not only tired, but also dizzy because of all the tension and drama that happened today. As she begins to move out of the cell, the psychopath boy, who manages to gain consciousness, grabs her leg very hard, which ends up scaring Layla. She gasps as the boy grabs her ankle, so she assures him that she did not do anything bad to him, as she was just giving him some medicine. But the boy spits the medicine out, suspecting it to be a poison. She becomes angry over his actions because he does not understand the value of that medicine. She thinks that the boy threw it out because she chewed it, which makes her furious, so she assures him that her mouth is very clean. She thinks that the boy is very ungrateful for throwing that medicine out, but the boy wonders why she is always doing pointless things which end up harming him instead. Layla agrees that he did get beaten because of him, but that does not mean he should criticize her for giving him the medicine to save his life, because she risked her life to come here even though she was scared of getting hurt by her father, who is a madman. As she turns around to tell the boy to leave her leg, her gaze falls on her face, which ends up scaring her. She gasps and falls down on the ground, but the boy does not let go of her leg. She finds herself in big trouble, as her body would not move the way she wants it to move because it is scared to death by the scary face of the boy, which overlaps with the image of his adult self. She composes herself and musters up her courage and decides to face her fears, as she realizes that she would have to keep facing that maniac in the future, so she cannot afford to lose her composure because that would render her useless. As she continues to tremble, she lets out a low voice and orders the boy to let her go. But the boy does not lose his grip on her ankle, so she gathers herself and shouts at the boy while crying, ordering him to let go of her leg. The boy, surprised by her loud voice, decides to let go of her leg. The girl quickly rushes out of the cell as soon as she gets the chance, forgetting to take the lamp she brought with her, while Hans is surprised to see Layla rushing out of the cell without saying a word. She continues running towards her room as she climbs the stairs, scared not because of the boy who grabbed her leg and is currently locked up in the basement, but because of the maniac whom she will meet in 10 years. But she quickly realizes that she is wrong, because either way they are the same person, as the weak-looking little boy will grow up and will eventually come to kill her. She trembles as she realizes this, thinking that all of this is unfair, and she starts punching her poor pillow to let out her frustration. She is infuriated because in order to live she has to try to get on his good side instead of getting revenge on that detestable brat. She ends up hurting her hand as she beats her pillow to death and starts screaming. As she calms down, she realizes that there is nothing wrong in this lousy method as her only purpose is to live and there is nothing else she can do to avoid this fate. After crying her heart out, she becomes dizzy as her eyes and throat start to hurt a lot. So she decides to just sleep as crying like this is not going to make that boy spare her life. After sleeping for some time, she sees a girl in her dream and tells herself to survive as she promised Lara that she would. Layla wakes up as the morning arrives, hoping that today will be different than the crappy yesterday, which means she will have to struggle again to survive, so she prepares herself for all the hardships she would have to face. She remembers that she heard someone saying something as she was falling asleep yesterday. She wonders if it was a dream, but she has no way of knowing about that, so she decides to not worry about it as it is not important. Her desperate struggle to survive bore fruit as the boy managed to survive, and he seemed relatively unharmed on the surface. Moreover, Layla's father also started to neglect him, which turned out to be quite fortunate, as she can go in and out of the underground prison without any fear of getting found out by her father. She brought him various things like food, water, ointments, herbs that are good for recovery, and anything else that seemed necessary for the boy every day. She also managed to hide her fear from the boy and instead greeted him with a smile, talked to him, and even checked if his wounds were healing properly. She thought that anyone would have no choice but to feel a bit of affection towards him unless he was the enemy who killed their parents. Eventually, after persistent efforts, Layla noticed that there was a change. The change, however, was a negative one because the maniac started to hate her even more than before with a burning intensity, which surprised her because she thought that after all of this he was supposed to be opening up a little towards her, but he did not accept anything that she gave him, which made her wonder if he never gets tired of this behavior. As she is sitting on the dining table with her half-siblings and her father, she realizes that she can see her death in the future so clearly and vividly, which sends shivers through her whole body. As she is worrying about her fate, her father informs everyone on the dining table that he would be going to hunt this morning and there would not be any delays in his departure, so those who wish to go along with him should get ready in advance. She finally realizes the reason that her father gathered everyone so early in the morning was hunting. Her half-siblings are very happy with this announcement because it has been a long time since they last went hunting. One of them decides to definitely catch a wild boar this time. Layla pities over their state and does not understand the reason for their excitement, as they do not realize that they are the ones that would get hunted in the future by the boy they are always making fun of. She wonders how one can get excited over the act of releasing the animals into the wild and shooting them with arrows. However, her fork falls down on the table from her hands because she suddenly realizes something very important. She remembers that today is the day when that psychopath boy will get released into the forest and die after getting shot by an arrow. Even though was not able to prepare for this day because she forgot about it, she still cannot let the boy die because she would then end up sitting around, washed and clean, waiting for her revenge. As she is wondering what she should do to stop this from happening, her gaze falls on one of the servants of the family and realizes that there is probably one way to not let the boy die. After realizing that she has enough time to put her plan into action, she rushes to the house of that servant while being happy that the dream of extending her life will come true. She asks the servant to steal one of the Marquis bracelets, but the servant tells her that he does not have time for her pranks. Layla assures him that it is not a prank, and she really wants him to steal the bracelet that belongs to the Marquis and tells him that it would be easy for him. However, the servant thinks that it is not about whether he can do it or not. The servant tells her that he would not let himself get eliminated by such a clumsy method, even though it seems that the young miss does not like him. Layla requests him to not misunderstand her intentions, as she only wants him to safely work for a long time in the Marquisate. She further assures the servant, whose name is Wilhelm, that it is the very reason that she did not tell her father about his tampering of the books. Wilhelm pretends that he does not get what the young missus is trying to tell him, so Layla reminds him that she is talking about the time when he conspired with the butler 2 years ago to create those double books, and she also knows the money he embezzled back then to buy the medicinal herbs. Wilhelm trembles at the fear of getting exposed and begs to Layla to keep this as a secret. Layla tells him that there is no need to be so anxious and assures him that if he does what she orders him to do, she will forget about it immediately. Wilhelm gets frustrated at this, but decides to agree to Layla's condition and requests her to wait there for a moment. She feels sorry for Wilhelm as this scandal will get exposed in messy love affair 3 years from now, so she thinks that it is a bit better to use it to save her life. As she walks out of the Wilhelm's room to find something, a maid sees her coming towards the carriage, wondering why the young miss is her. Layla asks the maid if this is the carriage that will go to the hunting ground and finds out that it is indeed the carriage that she was looking for, so she decides to ride it. She easily manages to get on the carriage, which is going to the hunting grounds. She hides herself behind the barrel from where she can easily peep at the psychopath boy. She thinks that things are progressing nicely right from the start. Before getting regressed, when she learned that the crazy boy had died, she asked many servants about the cause of his death. All of them said that the crazy boy was dragged to the hunting grounds by the head of the family and was shot with an arrow. She even remembers that it was a sharp arrow with a blue feather which pierced his chest. She is, however, happy because she already knows the reason for his death, and the only thing she has to do is to prevent the event from happening. She thinks that if she manages to become his only savior, he would not be so harsh towards her anymore when he comes back for his revenge. She thinks that she can pull this off with the bracelet she got from Wilhelm. The scene then shifts to the hunting grounds where the carriage is being unloaded by the servants. They are trying to end their job quickly because they need to be ready before the Marcus arrives at the hunting ground. One of the servants has tied a rope around the crazy boy's waist and is ordering him to move quickly so that he can reach the forest quickly. Layla quickly realizes that the crazy boy is being taken to the forest by the servant, so she decides to follow them without wasting any time. She manages to follow them for a long time without getting noticed, but she wonders how far they plan to take the boy, as the cute birds come and sit on her head. She suddenly realizes that the servant finally stopped in the middle of the forest. The servant orders the boy to stand there and not go deeper into the forest, but the distance and the surrounding noise makes it hard for her to hear them. As the servant walks off, leaving the boy in the middle of nowhere, Layla gets frustrated because she was not able to hear their conversation. However, she decides to come out in front of the boy because it was safe for her to do so. She looks at the boy standing right where the servant ordered him to, clueless of the fact that this very place will end up becoming his grave, but this can change if Layla can help him avoid his dreadful fate. As she approaches the boy stealthily, the boy turns his head around as he manages to notice her. She gasps at her sudden reaction and wonders if the boy knew from the beginning that she was following him. The boy angrily asks her the reason she has followed him all the way out here, and by his question, Layla is assured to know that he was oblivious of the fact that she was following him. Layla spreads a bright smile, asks him if he knows where they are, but answers herself that they are in the forest. The boy, who is annoyed by her at this point, tells her to leave. Layla cannot get used to his scary eyes, so she turns her head away and refuses to go back, wondering why she should leave as it is not prison. She realizes that he is irritated and upset because Layla is not scared of her like she was on the first day. Layla thinks that she would face no problem in this wide and beautiful space, contrary to the prison, which was a very dark and gloomy place, and it also homed the maniac who used to glare at her as if he would devour her there. She was scared because she did not have the courage to endure both the gloomy atmosphere and the maniac, so she used to flee miserably. But that also does not mean that she is completely fearless, as she still cannot seem to face that terrifying gaze. She wonders why that crazy boy is always glaring at her like that, despite the fact that it was her who kept getting killed by him. She finds this so ridiculous that it makes her angry. She is curious to know why the crazy boy hates her, so she asks him about the very reason of his hatred. She wonders what was her mistake that made the crazy boy hate her so much that he does not even want to be in the same place as her. She wonders if the reason he hates her is because she was the reason he was beaten so badly by the guard. But the boy tells her that he does not care about that petty reason. Layla is unable to understand it, which infuriates the boy, so he tells her emphatically that he does not care about that. But Layla, instead of getting scared, proceeds to ask him the thing he cares about, but the boy thinks that it is useless, so she should give up and not discuss this anymore. Layla is still unable to understand it, so the boy makes it clear that no matter what she does, nothing will change, so she should stop doing futile things altogether. She asks the crazy boy if he would continue to hate her no matter what she does, to which the crazy boy does not say anything and turns her head away, which frustrates Layla a lot. As she is thinking to let out her frustration, she realizes that the bracelet she wore on her hand is vibrating, which means that it is the signal of an arrow coming towards them. Layla, without wasting a moment, jumps in front of the boy to save him, but the arrow ends up piercing her back. She gasps and falls down on top of the boy, and the only thought that is running on her mind is whether her efforts bore fruit. The scene then shifts to her bedroom where she just woke up after letting out a loud scream. She rushes to check the calendar to see if she was able to save the crazy boy, but she finds out that she has regressed 6 times to 11th of May in the year 332 of the kingdom. She realizes that she got hit by an arrow and was not able to make it out alive after that. She prepared so much to save the crazy boy in this regression, which all went in vain. She stole a pair of bracelets from the Marquis that can send signals and gave one of them to Wilhelm. This was done so that when the hunting party gets close to her and the crazy boy, Wilhelm can send a signal through the bracelet to inform them about the arrival of hunting party. She then planned to quickly throw herself in front of the crazy guy to take the arrows in his place so that the crazy boy is moved by her sacrifice to the point that he thinks that he misjudged her and ends up opening himself to her. Because of that incident, the crazy boy will remember her sacrifice, and she would be the only one who gets to survive, finally managing to fulfill her dream of throwing a grand birthday party at the age of 90. She weeps profusely on her head because all of this planning does not matter a bit as she ended up dying, which made her regress back to 11th of May in the year 332 of the kingdom. She is annoyed that she died after getting hit by one measly arrow in the back, even though a knight was able to take down an enemy with 4 stuck in his back, while another soldier hugged a kid on the battlefield with 5 arrows in his back, which is exactly how she imagined it to happen. She bites her bedsheet and decides to try one more time because the only reason she failed this time was because of her terrible luck. Just like the previous 6 tries, she thinks that it would be better because she will start off on the right foot. As she thinks she would succeed if she starts again from the time the maniac was brought to the castle, she begins to feel dizzy and collapses on the floor. Layla slowly opens her eyes as she hears her maid asking her if she is all right. Layla gasps as she wakes up wondering if she died and ended up regressing again. Her maid is surprised by her question, but Layla asks her about today's date and time. Her maid, still surprised by her reaction, tells Layla that it is 12th of May today and it is 10 in the morning. Layla is shocked to realize that she did not die but rather was unconscious for a whole day. As she is wondering about what happened to her, she is informed by her maid that it is not the time to ask about these things because the Marquis has returned and is on the first floor at this moment. Layla realizes that it is the time when her father and that crazy boy Cyan returned. She dashes quickly and starts to run so that she can meet with her father and proceed with her plan. She wants to reach there and meet her father as fast as she can because she cannot miss, because if she is late even a little, she will die by the very hands of her crazy father instead of the maniac. She runs as fast as she can in the corridor to meet her father. She continues to breathe very hardly, wondering if running was always hard for her, and she only came to know about it just now. Despite the fact that her stamina is depleted and she can barely breathe, she is happy as she at least managed to reach there in time. As she walks alongside the railing, she is relieved that she has finally managed to avoid her death. She walks down and approaches her father. She apologizes for being late because she was not feeling and she rushed down to reach here in time. However, she realizes that everyone, her half-siblings and servants included, is shocked to see her and is gazing at her weirdly. She wonders if they are giving her that weird look because she is late. Her father looks at her and starts laughing loudly, which further confuses Layla as she thinks that he finally went insane from her anger. Her father, however, praises her because he finds it admirable for her to rush here to greet him despite her being in such a sorry state. He further tells her that he is very proud of Layla.